Hey everybody, I'm Sean and welcome to Southern Audacity. If you are new here, thanks for stopping by. I hope that you will like, share, subscribe. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for bearing with me. In this video, I am going to show you all how I made this patch. And I made this patch design and all. I used a program called Silhouette, which is a program that I use to make this t-shirt. I cut the vinyl with it, but I also use Embrilliance Stitch Artist 2 that I am learning. I'm learning it, okay? And it is a learning curve for me because it is. But anyways, I will show you how I made this patch and then I stitch it out on my embroidery machine. So stay tuned. Alrighty guys, so to begin this design, I'm going to start off in Silhouette Studio. Now, if you're not familiar with Silhouette, America has a vinyl cutting machine that functions, I guess is like the Cricut, but I've never used Cricut, so I honestly can't compare them. But Silhouette Studio will allow you to make different files and save them as either Silhouette Studio files, SVGs, PNGs, and that is if you have the business edition. That is the edition that I do use, is the business edition. I'm not sure what the other editions will allow you to do or not, but when I first invested in it, I was told the business edition will let you do everything that Silhouette Studio possibly could do. So that's what I ended up getting. Now, what I'm going to do initially, I need to type a name in so that I can create the outline and the foundation for the patch, or the design for the patch, I should say. In Silhouette, I'm going to come over here to where you see this A at. That is your text icon. I'm going to click on it, come over here into the typing area, and I'm going to type a name in, and I'm just going to use all capital letters. So now initially, because I wasn't working with a font, it types initially as Arial. If you were already in there typing fonts, it would just type whatever font you were using last. So I want to change this from the Arial font. I'm going to click on the name, and now I'm going to come over to the right side of the panel, and I'm sorry I can't really zoom in good, but over here there is a with a line on the side of it, and it says open the textile panel. So I'll click on that, and that will open up all the text that I have available. And I'm just going to click under the Karate font and go from there. So it changed it to the Karate font. Now I want to change the color of this to black, and that is just for the sake of being able to see what I'm doing. I don't know why that red just doesn't work well for me. So now it's in black, and what I want to do next is create the bubble that I will use over in Embrilliance to actually create the applique, or the outer part of the patch that I'm going to be making. So to do that, I'm going to create a offset. Now I want to click on the name with the left side of the mouse cursor, and then once it's highlighted, I guess this is called highlighted, it's got the boxes around it, I'm going to right click on it, and this will open that up, and I'm going to go down and select offset, which is towards the bottom. Now when you select offset, it will surround whatever you have selected with outlines or offsets. It outlines everything. And so you can see initially all of these overlappings within there, that all will disappear once it realizes that the lines are intersecting each other. And I have the offset set at 240. Let me see, I'm gonna try to take my phone off of here, but I have my offset set at 240, and I'm gonna leave it there. And now that I've decided that that's where I'm going to keep it at, I would just click outside of that area, and this is all offset. It's got like a bubble around it. So what I want to do next, I don't want to keep it all together and bring it over to Embrilliance. I'm going to take the name out, and then I'm going to bring it over. Now, let me back up. I'm just going to hit the back button and put the name back in there. If this is not the size that you want, this name is 3 inches and almost 3.5 inches. So you can always resize it if you want to in there. And I'll just go ahead and leave it there. It's at 3.672 and it's only 1.345 inches high. But I'm going to take the name out now so that it doesn't all cross over and have everything grouped, because sometimes I do have that problem. Everything doesn't group automatically, but sometimes I'll have a weird thing will happen where something in the name will group with the bubble, and I want these two to be separate. So now I have these two that I'm going to just save. And to save, it's just like any other program. You go up to the upper left hand corner, you hit file. I'm going to save as, save to hard drive, and I'm going to save this. I'm not going to save it to the desktop. I'm going to save this to a flash drive I have on here, and I'm just going to call it name, and it's going to save it there. Okay. So now I'm going to come over here to Embrilliance, and sorry, I had to put this back on the tripod. In Embrilliance, I'll be able to pull it over and then create a stitch file out of it. So I have Stitch Artist Level 2 and Essentials. I'm not sure what the other programs do. Heck, honestly, I'm not even sure what all these two programs do, because I've had Stitch Artist 2 for over a year and I just decided to start trying to use it. And I just got Essentials because I didn't want to go back and forth from Stitch Artist to Sew What Pro just to do, you know, the realigning and everything. So, or, you know, reassigning colors and all of that stuff. So Embrilliance is a little bit different. It is one of those things where you could buy the different modules that you want, and if it's something that you don't need, don't buy it. You save your money. So anyways, I'm in Stitch Artist 2, and I'm going to come over here to the corner. There is a vector button, and I'm going to click vector because that is what Sew What Pro is. And let's see here, I am going to go to that USB, and I'm going to select the one that says name, and I'm going to click open. So now we have the name in the bubble here in our Embrilliance field. Now, this is not a stitch file yet. This is still just lines that are sitting in Stitch Artist 2. What I have to do now is assign stitches to each part that I want to be stitches. So for this part, the name, well, let's see here. The name, I do know that I want it to be a flat stitch or a fill stitch. So what I will do first, because I want to group everything together, I'm going to go through and I'm going to, let's see here. I'm trying to do this with one hand. I'm going to use, I guess they call it the lasso, and capture all of that so that everything is highlighted. And then I'm going to come up here to where it says edit. And I'm going to come down here and select group so that all of those pieces stay together. Okay. And so now I'm going to select it again. I'm going to come up here to my stitches and assign a stitch type. I'm going to assign it as a fill stitch. And you see here, it turned it to a fill stitch. Now I'm using the texture feature for the fill stitch. And if you're using not Sew What Pro, oh my goodness, Stitch Artist 2, you'll see that there's different features for different textures and motifs and all kinds of different things that you could do. But I'm going to leave it there. And what I will do is change the color, because I don't want it to stay black. I want to just change the color for my own eyes to let's change this to, we'll do green. Okay. And so now this is a fill stitch and it has the texture in it. And you can actually tell by looking at it that it has a texture to it. So now I am going to take and assign a stitch to the bubble part. And I want to make that an applique because I want to be able to make a patch with this. So I am going to go up to the top where I initially assigned the flat stitch to the name part, and I'm going to assign that as a applique. And the applique, initially I was thinking this was an applique because I'm so used to appliques having the satin border, but the applique is actually the applique button. So that's the applique button. I'm going to click on that and it turns it into a applique. So this applique is not going to have a very thick border, but that is fine because I don't have a whole lot of space to make that any wider. So my stitch width is going to be 3, and that is fine by me. So now I have the applique set. I have the name set as far as the stitches are concerned. I need to put the name into the bubble because it's not going to be a patch the way I want it to be if I don't. And then I'm going to lasso all of this and bring it centered. Okay. And so that is there. Now I want to reorder it. And I mean, ideally you could leave it like this because it's all, I'm stitching this on felt. So there are going to be no fabrics or anything like that under it. What I do want to do, I want to go to each one and make sure over here, I make sure I have the tie-offs at the ends. I almost forgot about that. But this little bow tie, I want to make sure it says tie-out entry, tie-out exit. And then I want to do the same thing for the name. I'm going to select the name. Then I'm going to go over here where it says fill. I'm going to hit that bow tie and make sure that those are selected as well. And then the other thing with the applique, I'm going to click on the applique again. I do want to make sure it says keep color stop, keep color stop. And this is an applique position and I want to keep the color stop. So that is that. Now, the other stuff, I don't mess with it. I just leave it alone. So I do want to reorder because I want the applique to be up at the top as far as the applique position. And because I have essentials on here, I think it's because I have essentials. It might just be something that I could do anyways with Stitch Artist 2, but I'm going to drag it up to the top. Okay. And so now the applique will go down first and then the name. Okay. Or you could just do it this way. Do the name and do the applique last. Okay, this isn't working as quickly and easily for me, but it will drag and drop. And there's another way you could reorder. You don't have to do all this dragging that I'm fighting with. There is a feature up at the under the edit function where it says sequence, and you can move that to last and just be done with it. So, okay, this is done. I am going to do a file, save stitch and working. I want to save it as stitch and working, and I'm going to put it on USB drive E. I thought I had a different USB in here. Let's see, it must not be acting right because I actually want to save this to a different USB so I can take it to my machine. Stitch and working, and let's see here. Yep, that is not being recognized. That will happen sometimes when you buy cheap flash drives. So that one is in there. I think this is the one for my PE770. I'm going to save it as Stitching Working, and let's find it. There we go. PE770. I'm going to change this to name, and that's saved to my flash drive, and I'm going to get everything set up so that I can get the felt on the hoop and get to stitching. Alrighty, so back to my messy craft table. I am using a 4x4 hoop today. I did hoop it with 2 layers of the Vilene water soluble stabilizer. So there are 2 layers there. And then I'm going to be using this stiffened craft felt that I got from Amazon. And I will try to find a link, of course, and I will put it in the description box. Yeah, I'll put it in the description box. So I'm going to fold this in half and cut it so that I don't have to try to manipulate too much of it. And I am going to use a little bit of basting spray. I do not like these sprays, but I'm going to use it today because I'm going to need it. It is a temporary adhesive, and I'm just going to spray a little bit on the back of the felt. And I did try to spray like over a trash can or something. But now I'm going to put that in there. I just don't feel like pinning this down and all of that stuff today. So I'm going to probably get some pins. That's what I'm probably going to do. But I wanted to not have to pin it. But, well, I mean, I could cut this and then it'll stay on there. So that'll work. I'll just cut it. I just hope I'm not cutting it too much to where I end up needing that space. So this is not all I'm going to do. I am going to put a layer of water soluble stabilizer, the Solvay type, over it. Okay. And that is just because my test stitches so far with this type of patch and what do you call this, felt, it seems to do better if I do have some Solvay on top of it. So I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to tape a little bit of Solvay over it. And you could tape it, pin it, whatever, as long as it stays in place. And I'm just going to tuck that right there. Okay, so that should be good. I'm going to take this to the hoop. This is a real quick stitch out. It's only going to take 10 minutes according to my machine. It might not even take that long. But I'm going to get to the hoop now. Alrighty, so of course I am using the Brother VE2200. I'm going to use black thread throughout this whole process. So I have my hoop on the machine. It's threaded and ready to go. And I'm just going to hit, well, I'm going to lower the pressure foot and then I'm going to hit start. And this is, it says that there are 4,912 stitches on there. So it shouldn't take too long. What I do want to do, because I had pulled out too much thread when I first threaded it, I've got all this extra thread here. I want to clip that. I don't want that to get caught up in my design and be all messy looking. So I will clip that and we'll get back to it. So I will let this stitch out for a while and I will check back in. And it's still stitching pretty good. Okay, so the next step is going to be the outline, and normally this would be the placement stitch if you were doing a traditional applique with fabric, but I'm not doing that, so I'm kind of out of order from how you would normally do an applique. But the name is all stitched, and I do see my machine fail to clip that jump stitch. So the next step will be that outline or placement stitch. Once that gets stitched out, I will trim it, and then we'll move on to the satin stitch that will actually allow this piece to be a patch. Alrighty, so that's all stitched out. Now I'm just going to go and I'm going to trim around all of that, okay? And then I'll bring it back to the machine. Alrighty, so I have this trimmed up. I am going to put this back on the machine and we will get the finishing stitches done. Now remember, this is set up as a applique, so there are actually 2 more steps left. However, we're not going to do all of that because there's no need to put the tack down stitch because it's already ready to be satin stitched. So I'm going to go down here to where you see the, let's see here, this little needle where it's a plus and minus or minus and plus. I'm trying to get zoomed in. I'm not doing a very good job right now, but there's that plus and minus down here. I'm going to click that. And I'm going to hit the spool of thread that has the plus next to it and just skip to the next step. And so now we'll be on our satin stitch up here, okay? So, let's see here. Let me get it refocused. And we're going to lower that pressure foot again and hit start. Okay, I'm just having a moment right here. I've got to clip that out of my way because that'll drive me crazy. It was just this thread sticking up that really I could have waited until I was done and clipped it, but I needed to do that now. And this is the satin stitch part. So yeah, I really have just been standing here watching this stitch out and not saying a single word, not thinking about the fact that my microphone is on and the camera is rolling. But I just really like the way the black thread is stitching against that green. He's gonna love that. And I am still using the Sim thread. It's still on my spool, my thread stand, but this is the Sim thread. You really can't see the logo on there. But yeah, this is that Sim thread that I did a video on a while ago. But this is done. And so I'm going to get this cleaned up and I'll show you what my final steps are for it. Alrighty, so we are back to the table and I am going to take this off of the hoop. And this is so cute on a 4x4 hoop. So the cleanup is not going to be very difficult. Yeah, I'm thinking about which scissors I'm going to use because, oh, here we go. Of all the scissors that I've bought, I still keep going back to the scissors that came with my machines. I just like them. So I'm going to just trim around. And remember, this is Vilene, which is a water soluble. So after I trim this, I'm going to clean up as much as I can within reason from the back as well. And then I am going to use a little bit of hot water on a Q-tip to clean the edges up without getting the whole patch soaking wet. Okay, so for the back, I'm just going to poke a little hole in there. And I'm literally just going to cut out as much as I possibly can. And so this is not really an exciting part. So I'm just going to go ahead and come back after I have it cleaned up. And I won't get all of this off of the back, but that'll be okay. I just need to get a good bit of it off for the sake of using the I'm going to use the FusenBond today to adhere to the back of it to make this a iron-on patch. But I just need to get enough of it off so that the actual felt is bonded. So I'll be back. Okay, so I have it all cleaned up to the best of my ability, and I still got to get that wassail in the middle there. Oh, how did I miss that? That's that solvy. Okay, so the back, I got a lot of the Vilene off, but all of it is not coming off. It's okay though. So the next thing that I want to do, I'm going to use, like I said, FusenBond, and it's by All Stitch. And I buy the sheets, and this is a used sheet, but let's see here. I'm just going to measure off how much I need and then just trim around it so that I don't end up, you know, wasting a whole sheet of this stuff. And I'm going to use a dry iron. And of course, I'm using this little doodad that I got from Walmart. And somebody told me it was on Amazon too. So with the FusenBond, you've got this smooth side, and then you've got this shiny side that you can actually tell that there is something on there. That is the part that you want on the back of your patch. So I just sit it like this, and I'm going to turn it over. And I'm using some paper towel because there will be excess of the FusenBond that I don't want all over my tablecloth. So I'm going to just iron over the top of this. And it doesn't take much. I honestly don't remember what the directions called for, but oh, that's hot. It doesn't take much as far as time on the iron. You can actually see it's on there. So I'm gonna let it cool. And peel it. I should have just let it sit, but I'd rather have it on the paper towel than on my table. So this extra stuff around here, just trim around that because you don't need it. So just go through, trim around it. And I'm kind of rushing through this for the sake of this video because I don't want to have a bunch of terribly long videos. Now this is where the jump tied off at on the machine, and you can always go back and clip that if that bothers you. But for this patch and for this, you know, general example, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so that is the patch. I'm going to just iron over the back of it one more time just to make sure it's good and adhered. And when it cools off, you know, you'll be able to see that there will be the adhesive stuff on the back, the heat adhesive. And so that's pretty much it. When it's time to actually put it on an item, I like to tell people if the white paper is still on it, you know, of course, peel it off, but put it on the fabric that you want. Use a pressing cloth on top of it. Just lightly iron over it for a few seconds just for the sake of getting it adhered in place. And then once it's where you need it, turn that item inside out if possible and press from the back side just to make sure that a good amount of heat hits the back of that adhesive. Now, for items that are going to be washed, you know, on a regular basis or whatever, or just washed every now and then, I would recommend doing a tack down stitch, you know, just with a hand needle and thread. Just put a couple of stitches here and there. And since this is black on the border, I would just advise them to put a little bit of black thread on the ends, you know, tack them down so that when this stuff does wear off, I don't know how long it takes to wear off. I'll let y'all know when I find out. But when the stuff, or if this stuff wears off, you don't want to lose your patch, but just, you know, tack it down a little bit here and there. But like I said, I don't know how many washes it takes. I have a few things that have patches that are being washed periodically, but so far so good. They haven't come off, but I do put thread around the edges just to make sure that they don't fall off. So tell me what you think. I know it's not perfect, but for a patch that, oh, I've got all this sticky stuff on my fingers. For a patch that I created myself with the use of Silhouette and Embrilliance, I think that this came out pretty well. So if you've tried this, or, you know, if you have a better way of, you know, getting this done, let me know. Talk to me in the comments. You know, I will respond. It might take me a day or two because I do work full time, and so I'll check in when I can. But just let me know what you think, or if you have any other shortcuts or ideas. I do know that Embrilliance has Stitch Artist 3 that has the feature where you can automatically apply a border that will go around your items. And I know that they also have Merrily, which is another module that's designed just to create patches. I'm not about to do that right now. Maybe in the future, but for now, this works for me. Well, that's all I have for you all. I do thank you all for stopping in. Give me a like, share, subscribe if you would like, and I will see you on the next one.